Let's review the story of how Israel loses God's blessing. So again, follow along, and I'll go through the story and see if you can shout out what we've learned together. So first of all, do you remember the name of God's leader at this time? He followed Moses. His name was Joshua. You can see it right there. He had led the people of Israel into the promised land, and he had given them such great leadership. And then he finally, before he left them, he said, remember. He talked about all the things that God had done for his people, okay? All the things. And then, based upon that, do you remember what he said they should do? What did he say that they should do? They should do what? That they should throw away their idols. And he said, as for himself and his household, he was going to serve the Lord. They could choose at this point, right? They could decide to get away from God. He encouraged them not to do it. And do you remember their response? What did they say? Did they say they'd do it or they wouldn't? They said they'd do it. They said, we will serve the Lord. So that's what they were going to do. And in order to remember that, do you remember what they set up so they would recall it? They put up a big stone. They call it Ebenezer, to set up this big stone as a witness that they were supposed to keep it. Well, Joshua, he eventually died. Remember how old he made it to? He made it to 110 years. He died, and then he was buried. He went to heaven, and all the leaders at his time also died. They died, and they went to heaven. And then do you remember what the Israelites did? What did they do? They followed idols. They worshiped Baal and all the gods that weren't their gods, that hadn't helped them, that were false gods, that were evil and wicked gods. And then do you remember what the Lord did? The Lord handed them over. He let them get away, and he sent some individuals to try to lead them. Remember what they were called? They were called judges. And the Bible talks about a number of them, but still, even though God gave them these leaders, what happened to the people? What did they still do? They still got away. They lost their blessings. It was really sad. But ultimately, what did God continue to do? Even though the people were getting away from him, what did he do? He continued to send them Jesus. And that's the great comfort, that God, despite all their sin and all their running away, he still loved them and called them back. And that's God's grace for us in Jesus. Thanks for spending time with me and reviewing Israel Loses God's Blessings.